Okay, friends, so that was fun. We now kind of get the big idea of truth or falsehood of fairly simple statements. Although that one was a little bit challenging, wasn't it? The one where I said Portland was decided based on a coin flip. If it had flipped the other way, it would have been Chicago. That was a trickier one because that was like a compound statement. It had two parts, and we had to say it was false because even though part of it was true, the other part was false. That's kind of how logical arguments get more complex when you're discussing logical things with people or setting up logical scenarios. I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. Here's a different kind of logical implication. Check this out. Take a look at this real quick. This is a piece of my family's health insurance policy. Now, I want you to, you've probably seen something like this before, and there's a lot here. One of the annoying things about looking at health insurance plans, although we are very, very thankful to have it, is you have to understand the language. And I was looking at it very carefully because of something that happened. I'll get into that later. The part I want to focus on right now is just this part. We have a son, Max, and preventative care, well child exams. One of the things health insurances will often do is to cover 100% on a well child exam. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this statement up as an if-then statement with the words if and then. Check this out. If we use an in-network doctor, then insurance will pay for a well child checkup. If we use an in-network doctor, then insurance will pay for a well child checkup. Okay, hopefully that makes sense so far. And that's what that basically says. This is the part we have to do, and then this is the part the company will take care of. This is a totally different kind of statement than the ones we've been looking at. The ones we've been looking at have been pretty straightforward. It's just like, this is this, that is that. This is what's called a conditional. If something happens, then something else will happen. Let's break it down. If we use an in-network doctor, then insurance will pay for a well child checkup. That is a conditional, and conditional meaning there's a condition placed. And I've color-coded the two parts green and red. The green part is called the hypothesis, as I call the if part, and the conclusion is the then part. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you super analyze the statement, we use an in-network doctor, that itself can be true if we do, and it can be false if we don't. So you see, it is either true or false. So it's logical, but it's our choice whether we use it or not. So backing up, it is either true or false. That makes it a logical statement. So the larger logical statement is made up of a smaller logical statement here, and guess what? So's the red part. Then insurance will pay. Looking at it a little bit more micro, we use an in-network doctor could either be true or false. Just like insurance will pay for a well child checkup can either be true or false. Now, this might be getting a little hard to kind of envision. So what I propose we do maybe is let's break it down. Let's ask it as questions. Did we use an in-network doctor? We either did or we didn't, so it's either yes or no. In addition, once we chose whatever we chose, did insurance pay for the well child checkup? Well, they either did or they didn't. What we're going to do is we're going to analyze this. So let's break them down one by one. Let's suppose we did use an in-network doctor and the insurance did pay for a well child checkup. Well, that would probably make us happy. That would probably make us happy. Now, I don't want to use the word happy because that seems too, I don't know if happy is the right word. Let's use the word fair. That seems like a fair result. We did what we were supposed to do, and the insurance did what they were supposed to do. That seems fair. Let's look at another. Suppose we did use an in-network doctor, but the insurance did not pay for the well child checkup. Well, that wouldn't seem fair. I would call that unfair. Because we did what we were supposed to do, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So I would call that an unfair outcome. Now, the next we're going to look at next is going to seem a little bit weird at first. What if we didn't use an in-network doctor, but insurance paid for the well child checkup? What makes this one tricky is you wouldn't expect them to, but what if they did? Would you be happy or would you be sad? Well, you'd probably be happy, but I'm not using the word happy. I'm saying you'd think that was fair. It seems fair. Even though it's not an outcome you would expect, it doesn't seem unfair. This is definitely the trickiest. If the hypothesis is no and the conclusion is yes, we have to define this as fair. We'll come back to this over and over again. What if we don't use an in-network doctor and insurance doesn't pay for the well child checkup? Well, that, hopefully you realize, is fair. I mean, again, you always want insurance to pay, but if you don't do what you're supposed to do, they don't have to do what they're supposed to do. So I think this, although it's not optimum for our pocketbooks, it seems fair. So of these four, this top left corner seems exceptionally fair because we did what we were supposed to do and they did what they were supposed to do. The bottom left one seems extraordinarily unfair. We lived up to our end of the bargain. Why didn't they live up to theirs? Top right is the oddball. I will say that now, and I will say it again later. But bear with me. Treat that as a fair outcome for now. We'll come back to it, I promise. And last but not least, the bottom right outcome, I believe, also seems fair. Now, before we move into the next series of videos where we analyze more of these, I want to break down what actually happened. That is our son's doc, Bo Gilmore. We took Max for a well child checkup, and we received the bill for the well child checkup. And they claimed that Bo Gilmore is not in network. Well, it turns out Bo is not his legal name. His legal name is William. And William Gilmore is actually in the registry for our health insurance. So they had William Gilmore covered, but not Bo. And I thought this was hilarious because I did all the legwork and research and figured out that William was Bo. And I told both the doctor's office and the insurance company, and neither of them changed the names to prevent this from happening again, which is just, if that's not bureaucracy in a nutshell, I don't know what is. All right, the next video, we're going to look at some more if-thens and start looking for a pattern.